Welcome to Teas on Tap, hosted by the man who sounds like Bob Ross but looks like Mark Hamill, Screen Printer Mike.
Hey everybody, Screen Printer Mike here. And it has been a hot minute since my last podcast. And since then, I've moved, a new location, new state, new time. So a lot of changes have been happening in my career and what I'm doing. And I finally got all of this set up here. And so today I thought that what I would talk about is marketing your screen printing business. Where do you find your business? And if you have recently started one, or maybe you have a screen printing business and you're struggling to find your market, then I'm going to try to give you some insight on things that I learned over the years running screen printing shops or working for other companies. And everybody always talks about trying to find the, your niche or your niche, whatever how you want to pronounce that. But it's true, you really want to ride in a lane that you're comfortable with, that you know the marketplace. And for some screen printers, that comes naturally because they just have a love of a certain genre. Like maybe they're into racing or horses or you name it. There are so many different niches out there that you can ride in that if you find an underserved community and you serve that well, then you can dominate that. But in the screen printing business, you're always looking to get what you can and get the best type of business. And there's several different avenues of approach that you can go with. One of my favorite places to try to sell to is a company that is actively selling t-shirts. If they're actively selling t-shirts, then you have opportunity to do lots of volume over time. You also have the opportunity, once you see what they're selling and who they're selling it to and how well things are going, is to pitch them ideas or come up with things that they might not have thought of that you can add. And this is the type of thing you do in your downtime, or when you have a few minutes, you maybe take their logo or come up with an idea and pitch it to them. Just send it to them and say, hey, what do you think? And I know that working with companies, they appreciate when you do that effort, even if it's one that they're like, no, I don't like that. Or I've even had ideas that I pitched to them that months later they came back and said, remember that design you did on that hat or that t-shirt? Can we take another look at that? And so being proactive with those types of businesses is a great strength in your company because you have the computers and all the graphic programs and things that they might not be able to do. And so those are what I'll say my favorite businesses to sell to. And those include, restaurants and breweries and places that have any kind of traffic or any kind of a regular crowd where they have built a culture around them. And this is for, wherever you live. This is for those local type franchises. Maybe there's just one of them or two or three of them in the area. And those seem to have more success at having people that patronize them and are going to buy their merch because they like it. Sometimes music venues fall into that same, and bars will fall into that same category as a company that can sell t-shirts over and over again, and they end up developing a line with multiple shirts in them. So that's definitely my favorite is those type. Also, there are probably where you live, there's a considerable amount of manufacturing companies around. Those are nice companies that you might get 1 or 2 orders a year from. And typically, companies will do like a safety shirt, or maybe they'll do one for the company picnic yearly, and they'll have a budget. So once you find out what their budget is and how many people are, then you can pick a shirt and a design or multiple hits and try to put together something that will utilize that budget that they have. Sometimes you have to put them in an economy shirt because of the volume or the amount of money they have. And sometimes they have enough that you can put everybody in a nicer, more retail fit, or like a next level Bella canvas, something like that. And so when you're out there, searching, everybody is on the table. Companies, schools, and there's even screen printers that specialize in stuff like athletic teams. And if you don't specialize in athletic teams, then you should probably stay away from that, because it demands a different type of setup where you're going to have individual names and numbers on things and lower quantities. And that's a whole thing that could interrupt your natural flow if you're a shop that's used to a certain volume. And the people that come in like every great once in a while, maybe doing a family reunion or something like that, you're going to find out over time that, yeah, you're going to accept their business and do a good job for them. But those aren't the ones that you can really expand upon. So when I'm looking to market to companies, then I'm looking at like the longer picture. Like, can we build something here? Can we take them from a lower volume to a higher volume? And then once you're in there, what can I add to the product that I'm giving to them? And a couple examples of that is maybe you've started working with a company and they start selling shirts. And this is, I'm not going to say it's a trick, but I guess you could call it a trick. But one of the things you can do is, without even telling them, on one of their orders, maybe they've done, 9, 10 orders with you. On one of the orders that you do, you could do something as simple as folding and bagging the shirts, or adding like a little sticker on it with the size, especially if they're retailing them. Maybe you've looked at their retail and you see that it's kind of messy where people go through the shirts there. And this is, it's a cross sell of a product that you're already giving them, and then you're just giving them more value. And you're like, hey, I think these would sit on the shelf nice. And then you can always have one up on a mannequin or one displayed, but then have the sizes that are folded nicely and easy to count for inventory. And this has worked. I've seen this problem. So look for what their scenario is in selling them. And if there's anything that your company can do to make that easier on them. And so that strategy has worked. And another one that I've shared before on my TikTok channel is adding a neck label in the back. And that's really something that you really have to decide, does this make sense? But I know that companies love it when they see their name in the neck label. And it's something that you can do, either screen print them direct in the shirt. If that scenario doesn't work for you, then you could gang sheet direct-to-film transfers. And that also works because those you can kind of keep on hand. And once again, this is a cross-sell. And maybe the first time you do it, you just give it to them right from the get-go. You just say, hey, we wanted to see what you thought. No harm, no foul. We're not going to charge you for this. If you want this in the future, it's going to be X amount, but we wanted you to see. And another thing that actually happened to me one time is the tearaway labels that come in some of these shirts are delicate to heat. And so if you're doing a process like discharge, where it takes a long sustained heat to discharge or to cure that water-based process, then sometimes your neck labels will get crunchy, or they'll shrinky dink on you, where they get all curled up and crispy, and to the point where it's ruined, and you don't want to deliver them like that. So that's what kind of gave me the idea of like, hey, if I'm going to have to put some sort of heat press or transfer or direct print label in here, I might as well make it like cool and put their logo on it, or, just to kind of save face, instead of delivering garments to them where the neck labels are ruined and the size you can't even read because it's just turned to, crumbled. So that was a mistake that turned into like, hey, we would like these labels every time. And so that is something you can do with your current list of customers, is you can look at them and say, hey, what are these value-added services that I can add to the mix that they may be interested in? And that is, knowing your customer and knowing what they think about your product and how well it's serving them. And sometimes for the neck label thing, it's just a pure, it's an ego thing for them. They feel like a brand, and that makes them feel good about like, hey, we just don't sell t-shirts with our name on them. We're a brand. And it's one of those things is like, once you go, you don't go back, because you have set a new standard. And so those are a few things that I just wanted to share with you. And I've, decided that, anybody that knows me knows that I could ramble on and on and on for hours and hours. And I decided when I started doing this podcast that I was going to try to just give everybody these small chunks and not try to just, you got to listen to me ramble for 45 minutes. Just don't think that'll work. But I've already written up an outline of my next podcast in the future. And now that I'm back on the horse, I'm going to try to dedicate myself to cranking more of these out, that I'm finally home again and I have a place. So I appreciate you listening, and I can't wait to see you guys the next time. Appreciate the follows. Follow me on TikTok. That's where you're going to see me most of the time with the short run stuff. And until next time, peace out, everybody.